Hello and welcome to Juniversal. This entire month we're taking a look at a select set of films and attractions that helped define one of the oldest movie studios still in operation to this day, Universal Pictures. The celebration kicks off right here with what is debated to be the very first Universal monster movie, that being the silent short film from 1913, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Before we dive into this famous adaptation of Robert Louis Stevenson's 1886 novella, let's quickly recount the history of Universal from its humble beginnings. According to the Universal Studios website, everything can be traced back to a man named Carl Laemmle in 1906. That year, he opened his first Nickelodeon theater in Chicago, Illinois, and soon moved into film distribution and production. By mid-1909, Laemmle formed the Independent Moving Picture Company of America, or IMP, out of New York. His first movie from that same year was a short adaptation of the Henry Wadsworth Longfellow poem, Hiawatha. A few years later, in 1912, a new company took shape. Laemmle's IMP combined with the New York Motion Picture Company, Rex Motion Pictures, and Powers Motion Pictures to form the Universal Film Manufacturing Company. The month of May brought Nestor and Champion Films into the fold, and by mid-July, Carl Laemmle was elected president of the joint brand. The following month, Laemmle expanded Universal to the West Coast, ushering in a new era. Officially, IMP was listed as the production company behind 1913's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but Universal was credited as the distributor. While it can be a murky situation, I'm considering this film an ancestor to the Universal monster classics that came along in the 1930s. In between the publication of Stevenson's novella in 1886 and this silent film in 1913, there were many adaptations of the Jekyll and Hyde story. Stage shows and other films already tackled the book nearly a dozen times. This wasn't even the only Jekyll and Hyde movie from 1913. However, King Baggett's performance managed to stick out amongst the other incarnations. If for some reason you're not familiar with the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it's a pretty simple one. Dr. Henry Jekyll is a good-natured scientist who acts as a medical doctor to patients who can't afford to see another physician. He's engaged to a woman named Alice and seems to live an overall altruistic life, but Jekyll is fascinated by the dual nature of man, and he's made it the focus of his ongoing research. The doctor develops a drug that is designed to bring out a person's full dark side and decides to experiment on himself. Upon taking the drug, Jekyll transforms into the villainous Mr. Edward Hyde. Hyde causes chaos around town, yet locals are never able to catch him. An antidote is mixed by the troublemaker that transforms him back into Jekyll before anyone is the wiser. However, the metamorphosis back to Hyde happens more and more frequently. This puts the good doctor and those around him in grave danger. Since this is such an early silent film, there are very few intertitles across the 26-minute duration. We have the title card at the beginning and a few letters written by Jekyll that show up on screen, but otherwise, it's just about one intertitle per sequence setting up each scenario. There is no official soundtrack either, yet some folks have added their own music to uploads of this public domain horror picture. If you've never sat down and watched a silent film before, this might be a rough one to start with. It's very bare bones, although its shorter length may be a saving grace for you. Despite its shortcomings from a modern perspective, there's plenty to admire in this adaptation. King Baggett was a major star of the silent era, achieving a massive level of fame as a result of his over 300 screen credits. He was also a director and writer on many projects up through the early 1930s. He's promoted as playing a dual role in the opening title card, and his performance as both Jekyll and Hyde is still an entertaining treat to go back and watch. As Hyde, Baggett crouched down and moved around with a choppy physicality. In the novel, Hyde is much shorter than Jekyll, so this was their attempt to portray that. I think it works well enough for the time period. In those days, most actors applied their own makeup. Baggett apparently used different grease paints and crepe hair to achieve the look of Mr. Hyde. There were only a few shots where his face is clearly shown in close-up, so Baggett had to mostly rely on his physical prowess to convince the audience of his transformation. When we do see Hyde's facial features with his buck teeth and evil smile, it is a standout moment. The film dissolves implemented from the Doctor to his demented counterpart were novel at this point in movie history. That technique was perfected in the following years, and it's fun to see a sort of primitive version here. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was directed and written by Herbert Brennan. He had a very long career, helming films into the 1940s, along with writing and even acting in his earlier days. Brennan and King Baggett would re-team for other Universal projects like Ivanhoe and Absinthe soon after. It feels weird giving a spoiler warning for a 112-year-old silent film based on a 139-year-old book, but I'm not taking any chances, folks. After attacking Alice's father, Hyde recedes once again. When Jekyll apologetically returns to his fiance's house, he's struck by another Hyde transformation. The dark figure evades a bloodthirsty crowd, but later utilizes the last of his antidote. Back in Jekyll's lab, Hyde attempts to get the house staff to acquire materials to create another antidote. It's too late. Hyde keels over dead before the door is broken down. Alice arrives to reunite with her deceased love, recognizing Dr. Jekyll as this horrific ordeal finally ends. Baggett's portrayal of Hyde's death is a pretty amusing affair. He's writhing around, pulling the drapes down from the laboratory window, and ultimately dies by going rigid on a table and falling to the ground. It's appropriately over the top for this era, and made for a memorable finale. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde seems to have been re-released a few times after its 1913 debut. Re-releases were common for popular films, as they still are today. I'm just glad copies of the movie survived so we can talk about them like this. If you've got the patience for this sort of thing and an extra 26 minutes to kill, I'd recommend giving this adaptation a view for its historical significance. If even 26 minutes is too long for you in the silent format, there's a 1912 version available that's only 12 minutes and honestly is a bit better. It was based on a stage production and stars James Cruise in the lead roles. The print I found uploaded is a higher quality, and the makeup, performances, camera work, and pacing is all just a bit more palatable. Plus, I think they do the dissolve transformation better than the Universal film. Neither of these are as iconic as the 1931 Paramount movie, but it's fascinating to see the same story adapted in different eras. Things are just getting going here at Universal. I hope you continue to tag along throughout the month because there are a lot of great films and attractions straight ahead. You can visit the Walter Culture YouTube channel for more content, and if you want to see some of these horror classics covered from a different perspective, check out Dr. Wolfula. There's plenty going on over there to satisfy your frightening fixation. We'll see you tomorrow with another landmark picture that's guaranteed to put a smile on that face. See you soon.